Welcome to Empire Building. I'm Wendy Papazan, and together with my 4 co-hosts, we bring you weekly unfiltered conversations about leadership, growing a big empire, and living on your own terms.
I'm Kimber Levitt-Keaty. We are investors and wealth builders with over $75 million in combined net worth.
I'm Sarah Reynolds. We are visionaries who built more than 50 businesses with over $122 million in annual revenue.
I'm Tiffany Fikes. We've led thousands of people and do it all while being pretty good moms.
And I'm Seychelle Van Poole. We are your podcast to learn how to build big businesses and even bigger lives.
Hi, and welcome to another week on the Empire Building Podcast. You have the joy of being with my great friends, Kimber and Seychelle, and I am Tiffany. And we are excited to be with you another week. Ladies, how's it going for you?
Good. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it is so good. And you know what amazes me is we're recording this almost halfway through the year already.
Oh, yeah.
How is this even possible? I feel like we were just in January. I don't even know how that's possible. It's gone by so fast with so many awesome things. How are y'all?
I'm ready for summer.
I'm so ready. I know. And I'm ready for things to just, the world to not, stop changing every time we look up. But we can't. That's not happening. So we're just.
But I don't know that that's reality.
It is not reality. So that's why I'm with you, Tiffany. Summer is time. It's time.
It's a fair request, though, Kimber. It's a totally fair request.
I know.
It kind of is about what we're going to talk about this week, because there is so much constantly changing, and so much when it's changing, you feel like you have to learn. I don't know about you, but one thing I always tell people when they're thinking about getting into real estate is it's constantly changing. The market's changing, the economy is changing, the way you do it is changing, the contracts are changing. And then we layer on this unknown world we live in now, and artificial intelligence and how that's changing the whole world so fast. You have to be good at learning. And so one of the books that I read recently, which is the inspiration for this podcast episode, is called Lean Learning. It's by Pat Flynn, and I am a big fan of this book, and I am excited to unpack it with all of you, because what he really tackles is why you have to work so hard but feel like you're not breaking through. And I think so many of us, there's so much to consume that you can really consume and not execute. And one pro tip, if you are going to read this book, I recommend reading it, quote unquote, with the audiobook, because the author meanders, which is so fascinating.
Oh, that's cool.
And pretty rare in an audiobook.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's basically I'm going to divert right here, and I want to tell you this extra story, or I want to lean in on this thing. So I've never experienced that in a book before. And so listen to it on audio so you can get the extra tips.
I love that. Well, and it's so interesting that we're bringing this up because, we all are in real estate. And I think real estate agents are so good at learning and learning and learning and learning and going to conferences and seminars and webinars and then in-person classes and then wanting to talk about it and then wanting to practice it. But if you look at the actual behavior of the most successful people, right, it doesn't always match the level of consumption that they're taking in.
The whole industry is built around making money from real estate agents.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, absolutely.
Just take this class, get this certification. And none of it is really teaching you how to do the job. You've got to do the job to learn how to do the job.
Well, and that's where the tension is, right? I think it's not just real estate. Today we're in such a, you got a coach to do this. Right? I have on my Instagram feed, it's the calisthenics lady. She's I'll have your body ready to go in less than 10 days. But it's the gap.
I'm in on that.
Exactly, right? Sign me up for that for $29.99 a month, right? But it's this gap of are you learning the thing? It's not the know what to do. It's actually okay, but are your results changing? Are they staying the same or going backwards? And I think that's really the challenge. There's all this information and then the gigantic gap.
I can think back to my real estate business building journey and how much time I spent figuring out how other people were doing it. I like information. I like making good choices. And so even in our top 100 Facebook group where it's just full of ideas, I would realize that I could spend an hour in there just consuming ideas and creating even more ideas. And I mean, I have a whole ideas folder that I'm just constantly pumping things into. But I had to get out of idea creation and I had to get into execution. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we have for you 4 lean learning shifts that you can make today to get into action. So that is going to be, we're going to learn less and apply faster. We're going to take some short sprints. We'll create pressure on purpose and reconnect to your why. So that's the outline of what we're going to cover today. And we're going to dig deep in each one of those things. And at the end, we're going to challenge you to get into action because we refuse to be a podcast that you just consume and is part of your education. We want you to get into action today on something.
100%. And we need you to build massive wealth and then go out and live your big life. That's the whole point of this. So today, number 1, which is shift 1, which is learn less, apply faster. You don't need more information. What you actually need is faster implementation. And the goal isn't just to learn everything, although I do realize that is tempting. It's to learn just enough to take the next step and go do that immediately. Just learn the next step and go, right? And I think about that with like football coaches, right? They're not teaching you the entire potential of what could happen in 4 quarters. They're teaching you one play at a time. And so we don't need to learn everything up front. We just need to learn what we need to know for the next best step. And so, I really want to impress upon us, like if we're learning without action, it's actually a liability because what you're doing is distracting yourself from doing what you probably should be doing the most. And so it's okay to get to like a certain level of success and then say, okay, now I am just in time learning what I need to do to then get to the next step instead of learning and learning just in case I might need this someday down the road forever. And like, let's talk about some practical examples on that we could put into place. I have been putting off, so I will give you my like where I failed at this and now where I'm succeeding. I have failed in that we have been doing single family rentals for wealth building for a long time. It's been great for us, but the property taxes in Texas are getting such that if you're not really careful, the profit can shrink real fast. And so we've been looking at like, what should we do next? So we've invested in some wealth building things outside of real estate to build cash flow. Thank you to my conversation with Tiffany a couple of years ago. And now we have sold one of our rentals and are now getting into the self-storage game. For 2 years, I have been like, oh no, what should we do with this real estate play? Should we do multifamily? Should we do industrial? Should we do storage? Should we do development? What should we do? And I have been thinking and learning for 2 years, not taking action. The catalyst was we got this property under contract with the rental that we're selling, and we decided to 1031. That gave us 45 days to identify something. So in 45 days, we have learned how to buy a storage facility. We're literally close. It's like funding right now as we're recording, like literally funding right now. And now I'm like, okay, today I'm implementing the tech for it to happen. Like the agreements and the estoppel and like all the notices and all of that, we've had to learn in 2 weeks. And I could have done this 2 years ago if I just put the pressure on myself to say, let's just go. Like stop learning and like worrying about it. Just go figure it out. And I think that's like an example of, I wanted to be transparent, like where I failed for the last 2 years on it. But I think ultimately you just got to pick something and go for it. You're going to figure it out along the way. We didn't even know what tech we were using until 2 days ago. It's fine. We're going to figure it out. And worst case, we'll change it if it doesn't work.
This one's really hard for me because I really like to do things well. And so in my mind, it means I need to know everything before I take action. And the reality is, like I said, you're going to learn by doing. And so the applied pressure, that Say's talking about is our next one. And learn less and just do it. Because whatever that thing is that you want to get good at, whether it's like maybe you're not asking for business from the people who know, like, and trust you, just start asking for business. Do it poorly. Like, you need to. That's all you need to know. You've learned what you need to learn. Ask for business. So now apply that. In the next conversation you have with someone, ask for business.
I love that.
The answer may be no. You'll probably say it poorly.
You'll probably look really awkward doing it too.
Totally.
Like, you'll probably be super awkward. And it's okay.
Like, I think back to when I started in 2009, the market was worse than it is now. And when I was walking into a listing presentation, I made people cry at their dining room table. Yes, because I was telling them the truth about what their home was worth with no skills at communicating bad news. And so, like, I didn't spend a ton of time practicing that. I just went out and did it. And then I was like, wow, they probably shouldn't cry when I'm talking to them. Like,
You're like, other people's sellers aren't crying.
yeah. So I got a little bit better at that. And I'm like, okay, I can give bad news in a way that isn't so direct. And so, like, well, this is just reality. You know, like, I learned to say things like, I'm going to give you some news that's probably going to be disappointing to you. So I just want you to be prepared for that. And then they didn't cry. They were still mad, but they didn't cry. And then I got, better and better and better at it. But if I had just sat by the wayside and said, I don't know how to do sales, I don't know how to get people to make good choices for themselves in this market, I wouldn't have grown as quickly as I grew in that. And just to put a nice little bow on that, they didn't list with me, the people that I made cry. They listed with another agent, but then they called me back 6 months later when their agreement expired, and they said, you were the only one who told us the truth. So come and sell my house. So I didn't even screw it up.
You didn't even screw it up.
I did win in the end. I cost them 6 months because I wasn't skilled, but I got the business and I sold their house. So that's what it looks like. Go do it poorly. Go mess some stuff up and just be confident that you're going to be, that's part of the learning process.
That's right. And I think it's this progress over perfection. And that's hard when we're perfectionists and we're used to like having it, like it's got to be a certain way and look a certain way. And the reality is it's okay. Like, you're going to be bad at it and get better.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say really quick too, like, we all want to look good and be right. And so not looking good and not feeling right about how you're doing it is hard. So just go do it wrong anyways.
Yeah. So as we go into shift number 2, this is actually then how you do it. Put it into practice. This is that power of 10s. So short sprints are often what create those breakthroughs. So actually doing it, like that short burst of effort that can really accelerate your progress. So most people are very comfortable living in sort of that middle line. Whatever they're doing might be working. It might not be working to the level that they want, but they're really not pushing themselves, right? You're not, say what you're saying, like, I was consuming, I was getting the information, I was learning all the things. I wasn't really comfortable with where I was with the investing, but I wasn't pushing myself to say, like, I've got to make a decision and I've got to deploy this capital in this amount of time to be able to do it. So, and ultimately, despite what everything, like, we believe that the growth is this linear process, it really happens in this like burst. You think about the hockey stick. We think about it as this linear piece, but that hockey stick is like, hey, you work. And then all of a sudden you see this like jump in the result. So it's really that short burst that actually accelerates progress. That's not often sustainable, right? We can't like live in that intensity forever, but it does allow the breakthroughs to take place. So you hear this a lot in like listing competitions. If anybody's familiar with like a bold learning where you go in and you're like, I'm going to make 100 contacts in a week. I'm going to talk to 100 people. You're going to really say, hey, we're going to do this like database push. We do that in December. We always like November, December, we do this huge like database touch plan. We're going to update all the contacts. We're going to do all the things. Yes, we should do it all year long, but it's much easier, especially if you've gamified something, if you have a team, right? Like, it gives you that opportunity to say, we're going to do this with a level of intensity, and then we're going to pull back. And that's going to help us break through to the next level.
Well, and I think what it also does is it reveals the holes. It reveals the holes in your learning. So, what Seychelles said about just-in-time learning is, all right, now you know what worked, what didn't work, and where can you fill the holes. I was shocked. Aaron, my 9th grader, this year, they gave the kids in April, which is 2 months before they're out of school, their cumulative exam. They hadn't even learned everything. And they were doing it so that the kids would become aware of the gaps and the holes so that they would push through. And I thought, that's such
brilliant.
I know.
Yeah.
I thought it was stupid until he told me the why, But, when we were in school, it was
the last week of school.
Learn everything and then, push. And they're going to get tested again at the end. But this like inserting a pressure point, it's going to make them do a sprint to the end, and they are going to know where their gaps are.
It's also a leadership exercise. I feel like as the leader, sometimes you need to feel like, hey, if I'm leading a team, is everyone kind of getting comfortable, even seasonally, right? Like people start to get comfortable. And so a sprint can actually help like energize the team, especially if you're like, okay, we're a little bit behind in the goal. What sprint? Are we going to push for contacts? We're going to have this many coffees. We're going to do this many listing appointments. We're going to take 30 listings in 30 days. Something that really helps energize the team. That sprint is a really good way to think about that.
So next, shift number 3. You've learned just enough. You've put together a sprint that kind of helps you find the gaps and figure out where you need to learn. And then it's shift number 3, which is create pressure on purpose. Because growth accelerates when growth is no longer optional. Like when you have to find another way or you have to hit a target. So when something's a nice idea, sometimes it doesn't happen. That's what gets pushed. But when it's a deadline, it gets done. So you don't always have to have real pressure. I'm not saying you have to procrastinate, but this is where procrastination works. When you have a deadline, you figure it out. Seychelle, in your example of I am buying a storage unit.
Today.
So yeah, today.
I better have a way to take payments tomorrow. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's that pressure on purpose. So for me, when I think back, I struggled hiring. We've got a really great process, but it takes a long time. And again, I wanted to make sure I had all the information about all the people. And so like hires would normally take me 90 days. And I said, this shift right here, I'm going to hire somebody in 3 weeks for this role. Like what has to happen? What has to be true so that I can hire somebody in 3 weeks? And I did not know the answer. I did not know like all those things. It was a huge pressure moment. I told my family, you're not going to see me, but we're going to do a big prize at the end if I can actually do this, which had my boys every night saying, did you do what you needed to do at work today, Mom? Like, are you going to hire somebody in 3 weeks? But it creates these like leap of faith moments. If you commit before you really are ready, like commit and then figure it out second. Believe you can figure it out. And it has to be a time-locked commitment. Otherwise, it's not real. It's not a real deadline. It's not going to actually make you change your activities. But doing that forces your skill development quickly. Seychelle would not have learned how to take payments for a storage unit in 3 weeks had you not had this pressure, right?
No, completely. I would not be doing it now.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited. And now we're like, hey, we're going to figure it out. We could do this 6 more times this year. Like maybe we could do it again and again.
And once you do it now, then it's like, oh, sure, I can do vending machines. Oh, sure, I can do a laundromat, like whatever that thing is, because you've proven to yourself. Because the pressure builds your capability.
And confidence.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and I just did this with my team, right? So like we, automations, right? We've been talking about automations and what are we going to do and how do we want to do it? And what does it look like? And I looked at sort of time being spent, and I have my admin team, or, we send out a newsletter to the entire brokerage, right? 1,000 agents. We have all these locations. You have to send all these individuals. So 3 members of my team spend a considerable amount of time each week gathering the information, putting it into like all the process. And I'm like, I know there's a better way. So I said, okay, on May 4th, our next newsletter will be sent in this system using an automation. And everyone and I was like, here's the person that's going to do it. This is what she's going to do. It's going to be done. And it was like a 3-week process. And everyone was like, wait, we don't know how to do that. How are we going to learn how to do that? And I'm like, you 3 aren't going to do anything. You're going to go do these things. And these 2 people are going to figure it out. And then in my mind, I was like, I don't know how we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. And guess what? Right? The first one went out and it happened. And it was a little clunky and right? But at 7 a.m., everyone's crossing their fingers on Monday morning and bing, 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 it all showed up. And so it just I think sometimes setting a deadline as the leader too and saying, hey, we're going to do this. Here's the deadline. Here's what we're going to do. And then it was yeah, we did it. It happened. And it wasn't perfect. And there were some glitches, but it happened. And now you get to go back and make it make sense, right? But if you create this thing, first we're going to learn it and then we're going to study it and do everything, you might look up in 6 months and you still haven't done the thing.
That's such a good example, Kimber, because with AI, I think there's a lot of admin teams and salespeople for that matter and leaders all kind of waiting to arrive with this topic, and it's a lot of information. It's changing fast, so you feel like if you're not already up to speed, then you're getting further behind daily. Like, I think this is a great example of like where you can put this into play in your business is just get just in time, do a sprint, get in there, and figure one small thing out in your business that you could automate that would alleviate something for you to build some trust in yourself that you could do it again.
Well, and if you are listening to this thinking, but I'm the leader and I struggle with creating this pressure, that's where the people you surround yourself with matters. So like what we're going to do this summer with Empire Circle is exactly shift number 3. We're going to create some pressure around executing on AI for all the leaders that we have in the room. And so if you think, but I'm the leader, who creates the pressure for me, right? Like, come join us in June or July, and we'll create some pressure for you, and you will leave the room with an automation, with an AI execution, because you've got to get into action on especially AI.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Well, and this, I think, is a good pivot into shift 4, which is you have got to reconnect with your why, or you are going to drift. And we don't usually fail because we're not working hard enough. As empire builders, we all know how to work hard. You didn't get where you are today without working hard. We know that. But you fail because you're slowly drifting away from what you actually wanted in the first place, or what you actually want now. And it's so easy to do that when you're working hard and you are not getting back to your why leading the way. And so you have got to build in as a leader some regular reflection time. We have got to take a look at, is the direction we're going the direction we intended to go? And if it's not, we need to course correct. Because there is so much power in the ability to pivot and pivot early and pivot fast. And I mean, I would venture to say that's been one of the biggest failures I've made as a leader, is allowing us to drift off course for too long and not looking at the signals, or not having the bravery to admit the failure in that and get back onto course correcting quickly, that it then takes you even longer. And so a couple of like practical tips that you can put into place. There's one that Tiffany modeled for me, which is scheduling a dedicated day that is a white space CEO day to reassess your business, to reassess your why, like giving yourself some white space to really make sure you have reflection time. We are so good at doing, especially as female entrepreneurs. I mean, y'all, Mother's Day is in the middle of Teacher Appreciation Week, graduation, end of school, exams, planning like summer travel and summer camps. Are you kidding me? Like, as mother entrepreneurs, we know how to do, right? So making sure that you're protecting white space in that time so that you can be the CEO of your life, the CEO of your business, and asking those white space questions and assessing the facts of where you're headed is so important. And I think this is something we do regularly once a quarter with Empire Circle, is having that white space together where people can ask you really big questions like, are you building something you actually want? Like, are you actually want what you're building, right? Are your agents clear on why they're doing this? Do they understand their why? Are you leading them the way we're helping to lead our Empire Circle? And it's so important to have this time, because if you don't, you're going to wake up one day and potentially not even love what you've just spent all this time and sweat and tears building, which is huge.
I mean, that's my story. And I really think that's a lot of where burnout comes from, is it's not too much work, it's the wrong work. And like I said earlier, I never set out to build this big, giant real estate company. I set out to try to have fun in real estate, try to be creative in how we were doing it, and serve people really well. But I got in the learning trap, and I just learned and absorbed how other people were doing it. And then I just did that. I learned the way of the successful real estate owner. And then I just started doing that and climbed the ladder only to get up the top and realize, wait, this is the wrong mountain. Like, this is never where I wanted to be. And so then I had to go down, whatever. And it wasn't fun. It wasn't repelling. It was like knocking yourself on the ladder every way down, and then prop that ladder on what was really what I wanted for my life, and what I wanted for my real estate company, and what I wanted for my business, and all those things. And so that's why I'm so passionate about reflection. Like, I don't want to get 4 years down and be having climbed the wrong mountain again. And so, yeah, make sure you're looking back and that you're leading your people like that too.
Yeah, I think it's such a critical component. And it's been one of the powerful things, I think, for us as a circle together. And I think part of the gift of what we created in the Empire Circle was that idea of like reflection, asking the hard questions, having people who love and care about you ask you those hard questions and sit with you to actually have to like work through them. Because I think sometimes it's back to this idea of like, we might know the question, but did we actually execute on the time to actually unpack the question? Because this idea, we hear a why a lot. Oh, what's your why? Reconnect to your why. But what does that actually look like? Like, did you actually do the do of like, let's like Stay said, you've got all these things, you got to do all these things. You're constantly in the do. Where on your schedule does the white space actually show up so that you can literally sit without the notifications, without the noise, without the pieces and just be like, okay, is the mountain I'm climbing, especially as an achiever, is that actually like doing anything for me?
Yeah, Kimber, it's such a good point. And the other thing I think about too that's beautiful about getting to ask those questions surrounded by people that are also doing it is you get to see a bunch of different ways success can look. You get to see other people defining what joy looks like for them and grab little nuggets from different people doing things differently, defining joy differently, chasing their why differently. And sometimes just being able to see it modeled by somebody else at a high level one way, you can go, I've been building it this way because I thought this is the way I was supposed to do it. But actually, what I really want is maybe somewhere in between, or maybe it looks closer to the way this person's going over here. And I see that now modeled out, and it makes a heck of a lot more sense for me. And so that's one of the reasons why we're so passionate about it. As a circle, we started doing this very intensely together, and then now have taken it to hundreds of people, is because chasing the wrong joy, to Tiffany's point, is the wrong work. And you're going to get to the end of it and realize this wasn't even fun. Like, that's not what we want for you at all.
Okay, so let's model it. So we've learned enough. We've done short sprints. We're putting in the pressure, and we know we align with our whys. So for the three of us, let's think for a second. What is something right now in your world that you are not getting into action quickly enough? That you fall trap to learning too much? While y'all think I can do mine, I have gone too much into learning about AI versus executing on an AI. So like what I did last week, and I'm still like, it's still forcing me to do it. But last week, I built an automation. I figured out how to do it. I asked it all the right questions. It taught me, and I did it clunkily, but it's done. And so that's one thing where I've learned enough. I've learned enough about AI. I just have to start doing it.
Our biggest one is in realigning our real estate investing right now. And I mean, literally today, I'm going to be putting together our website and our purchasing system after today. But I think on the personal side, it's been gamifying, like being in perimenopause and the health component. And I have read all of the books and been playing with some of the hormone pieces, but there's other like health changes that I need to make in order to feel fully back to human again. And so that's a piece I've been stalling out on and not taking action fast enough, which I set my appointment with my OBGYN yesterday to get out of learning and back into action on it.
Love it.
I love that. I love that. Well, I think this idea, the deadlines and the sprints, like really being able to say, for my team, I think it was a powerful unlock when I tested it. And now, like, I think the 10X is a part of actually doing it now, actually more than like, okay, we did it one time and it worked. Like really implementing that and saying, okay, what are the sprints we need to do, both around AI, both around digital content? Like we're kind of like, inconsistent. And so this idea of like, okay, the 30-day sprint, where's the content calendar? Where are the pieces? How do we make sure that we are going to do this at a high level? Because it also builds that habit and that repetition. So that's one on the business side. And personally, like the white space is such a big reminder every time we talk about it, right? Like we're rolling at such a fast pace that you just kind of look up and you're like, okay, wait a minute. Like, let me make sure that this is the ladder and this is where we're going. And so actually blocking that, not just thinking about it, but actually putting it on the schedule is such an important part of That's why I'm ready for summer, Tiffany. That's why I'm ready for
That's
summer.
right. All so much white space when these kids are home.
Right. Right. Well, remember, right, the gap is not knowledge, right? It's really the speed at which we execute. So stop, right, consuming and learning and taking it all in and start using what you already know, because that's where the breakthroughs, that's what the opportunity is. And there's things that you already know, right? So stop that part and start doing, because that's where we get into action and that's where we have impact.
So we leave you with the question we answered. What is one thing you already know you should be doing, but you're not doing? So pull over on the side of the road, take a moment and figure out what is that for you so that you can get into execution. And we would love to hear what you do. What is the thing? What is the action you take that you will have just-in-time learning and you will figure it out? Because that's why we do this. We show up every week to share a little bit of knowledge and hopefully some tactics with you to get into action so that you can build your big business, but your even bigger life. Thanks for joining us this week. Y'all have a great week and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye,
Talk
guys.
to you soon. Thanks, ladies.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.